And welcome to the Tri-State Generation and Transmission Association press conference. This week we have several announcements related to our responsible energy plan and continued progress against the goals that we set in January of 2020. Today we have 4 presenters that will speak, and then we'll turn the session over to media Q&A. If you have any issues with this call, please reach out to Mark Stutz at 303-501-3526. That's 303-501-3526 for any issues with the call today or any follow-up on the content. My name is Lee Bowie. If you need to reach me, you can reach me at 720-670-6696. We'll begin with Dwayne Hiley, the CEO of Tri-State. Dwayne will be followed by Governor Bill Ritter of the Center for the New Energy Economy. Then we'll hear from Jeff Wadsworth, CEO of Poudre Valley Rural Electric Association, and we'll finish with Jack Johnston, CEO of Southeast Colorado Power Association. For the Q&A, we have 2 options for you to engage with our panel. You can write a question in using the GoToWebinar question tool, or you can raise your hand with the little hand icon that is on the tool, and you'll be able to ask your question live. With that, I'd like to introduce Dwayne Hiley, the CEO of Tri-State Generation and Transmission Association.
Thank you, Lee, and I want to thank you all for being on the call with us today. We're really excited to announce the work of our board and the decisions that they've made today in regards to 2 key elements of our responsible energy plan. So if you remember back in January of this year, we announced the responsible energy plan, which was our plan to reduce emissions while increasing member flexibility and preserving reliability and affordability for our members. It included our desire to seek membership in a regional transmission organization and to promote regional power markets, along with our interest in promoting just transition for our coal-dependent communities. Now, already we've taken a number of actions, including the retirement of the Escalante coal plant in New Mexico and the implementation of our community support plan for that area with significant assistance in their economic development efforts. And we've already started work on the first of 8 new renewable energy projects that will total over 1,000 megawatts and will push our total renewable energy portfolio to over 50% of the total energy supplied to all of Tri-State's members by the year 2024. Now today we're ready to announce 2 new elements in our responsible energy plan. The first is that our board voted today to set a target for rate reductions. So not only will we be able to enjoy stable rates, but actually the green energy dividend of reducing rates by 8% over the next 3 years by the end of the year 2023. So we've had no rate increase for the last 4 years, and we have predicted stable rates through our modeling all the way through 2050. But this is really exciting for us and our members, especially at this time with greater challenges due to COVID, people struggling with making all their energy bills, that we're going to be able to deliver some significant cost reductions besides greater green energy. The second decision by our board of directors was a decision to increase the flexibility for our members to do local self-supply energy projects. So far, our members have had the opportunity to self-generate up to 5% of their total needs through local renewable projects. And about half of them had taken advantage of this opportunity to develop over 140 megawatts of local renewable projects across our service area. Last year, though, they asked for greater flexibility, and all of our members engaged in a process to vet out the rules by which we would share costs going forward so that all members could have access to larger amounts of renewable energy. And today, our board of directors affirmed the ability for individual members to seek up to 50% self-supply options, a total of 10% of Tri-State's total energy portfolio, or 300 megawatts of additional self-supply that will be available to our members. So it's been lots of work, but co-ops have come together cooperatively to work out the differences and to find ways to make this work for all our members. Whether they're participants in this new product or not, they've all agreed that these are fair ways to share costs and will help Tri-State become more clean, more affordable, and always reliable. I'll look forward to your questions as we move to the Q&A, but next I want to introduce Governor Bill Ritter, who serves as the leader of the Center for New Energy Economy. We've got Bill with us today because he was instrumental in bringing together a stakeholder group last year that helped us develop this responsible energy plan. After you hear from the governor, we have two members of Tri-State that are CEOs of their own member systems. Jeff Wadsworth, President and CEO of Poudre Valley Rural Electric Association, who was instrumental in encouraging us for rate reductions. And Jack Johnston, who's CEO of Southeast Colorado Power Association. He was instrumental in leading the group towards new contract flexibility. So now I'll turn it over to Governor Ritter.
Hey, thanks, Dwayne. It is Bill Ritter. Glad to be with all of you, even if it's virtually. And I should mention that I am the director of the Center for the New Energy Economy, as Dwayne said, but it's at Colorado State University. I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary there since leaving office in January of 2011. So I've done a lot of work with Tri-State, both as governor and then really as the director of the center at Colorado State University. In the middle of 2019, Tri-State hired Dwayne as a new CEO, and we met. And Dwayne and I talked, and it was clear to me that Dwayne understood that the entire United States is in an energy transition. And I looked at Dwayne and I said, this is the work I do, Dwayne. I work with governors, with utilities, with commissioners, with legislators on this energy transition. If there's anything I can do to help, I'd be happy to. Dwayne came back to me in the early summer and said, I'd like you to be the person who convenes a stakeholder group to help us develop a plan. And I'm not sure we were calling it the Responsible Energy Plan then or not, but I did that. My team and I at Colorado State University at the center, we brought together stakeholders, and along with Tri-State, we convened those stakeholders to talk about what was going to be necessary. If you remember, by then, the state of Colorado had passed a climate plan that looked at reducing emissions across all sectors by 50%, and also was looking at the possibility of including, I know they had already included Tri-State in resource planning supervised by the Public Utility Commission. What was great about that stakeholder process is it included people from all sectors, from the non-governmental sector, from the private sector, as well as the governmental sector. And there was great and wide input. And it wasn't an easy result to get to. I think people should understand none of this is easy. But what came out of that was the Responsible Energy Plan that Tri-State announced in January. And if you remember, there was a report that talked about that plan that was co-authored by Dwayne Hiley and myself. And today I'm on this call, part of this news conference, because they are living up to commitments that they made in the Responsible Energy Plan. When I say they, I mean Tri-State. I think it's a pretty remarkable thing for an independent power provider and the largest independent power provider in Colorado that services so many co-ops to be able to say, we're going to add clean energy to the grid. We're going to add diversity in the profile for our customers, and they're going to be able to own up to 50% of it. And by the way, we're going to make a commitment at lowering rates over the next few years. That is something that I think we should all applaud. And it, once again, I think demonstrates to me that Tri-State's commitment was not just a paper commitment, but a concrete commitment about how they will be part of a clean energy transition, not just in Colorado, but in the United States. And so, Dwayne, to you and to your board, congratulations. And like I said, a year and a half ago, if there's anything I can do to assist Tri-State in your future, let me know. Thank you.
And believe me, we're not finished asking for help, so thank you.
Thank you, Governor Ritter. Our next speaker is Jeff Wadsworth, the CEO of Poudre Valley Rural Electric Association in northern Colorado. Jeff?
Thanks, Lee, and appreciate Governor Ritter and Dwayne your comments, and greetings from smoky Fort Collins. A little bit about Poudre Valley is we're a rural distribution co-op serving Larimer, Weld, and Boulder counties. We have 47,000 member owners. We're the second largest member owner of Tri-State, and I'm super excited to join today this press conference to share a few words on how the increased flexibility that we're going to see through a partial requirement contract option, and as well as Tri-State's rate reduction commitment how encouraging those steps are as we move forward for Poudre Valley and our owner members here in Northern Colorado. As we all know, this year it certainly has been full of challenges up here at Poudre Valley. Not only are we facing the challenges brought by COVID in delivering the 24/7, 365 power, along with our partners, Tri-State, but right now we're working through the Cameron Creek wildfire. It's very much still, as I look at my office window here with the smoke, it's still very much an active fire in our area. Certainly want to pause and recognize all the brave men and women working to combat that wildfire, and those actively working to restore power, and certainly including Tri-State as well as we work through that. And as we work to rebuild our system on the third largest fire in state history, this good news, and it really is good news, great news, that's being announced by Tri-State today, it certainly is welcome. The announcement today about moving forward with a partial requirements contract and the flexibility that brings, along with moving to reduce rates in the near term, it is so meaningful, and I believe a very important chapter in Tri-State's history. Poudre Valley was one of the original founding members of Tri-State, and very excited to see this step forward. Our board here at Poudre Valley, we set an important renewable 80 by 30 goal in 2018. And we're very hopeful that having this flexibility of a partial requirements contract, it's going to give us a workable option in helping us meet that 80 by 30 goal. Tri-State's rate reduction commitment just announced today, it is so important in so many ways to rural Colorado and the entire region. You typically don't hear about electric utilities lowering rates. Just not something you hear about. So I'm so grateful to all the employees at Tri-State, and certainly the Tri-State board as well, for this big lift. And it is a big lift to drive for lower rates. As a cooperative, Tri-State's rate reduction, it's not going to come just like our rate reduction either. It's not going to come from profits. It's really going to come from hard work, looking at efficiencies, doing what we need to do to change the way we do business, but do it in the cooperative way, where we're working together, moving towards that new energy economy. Certainly the partnership and services that Tri-State provides to us and the rest of their member owners, that's not going to go away. With this great energy transition, I would argue that as we move to a cleaner grid, these energy services and the value Tri-State brings to us, it's really only going to increase. So with a path forward to lower rates, a cleaner grid, and increased flexibility, I believe the cooperative model, which I'm very bullish on, it's really leading the way in the nation and showing how much we can accomplish when we work together. Something I think that we could be example across many spectrums. So now that the good work begins to make these words and goals come into action, I know we're ready to roll up our sleeves, work with the rest of the members to really start this plan and move it forward. So looking forward to any questions that may be out there, and I'll turn it back over to Lee.
Thank you, Jeff. Our next speaker is Jack Johnston. Jack is the CEO of Southeast Colorado Power Association. Jack, take it away.
Thank you, Lee. Good afternoon and greetings from the beautiful Arkansas River Valley. Southeast Colorado Power is the largest certificated territory in the state of Colorado, over 13,000 square miles, serving all our parts, our 11 counties. We proudly represent all of the challenges and the best of rural Colorado. And it's certainly a pleasure to join Governor Ritter, Dwayne, Jeff, and other colleagues in yet another milestone day for the Tri-State cooperative family. I do want to emphasize and also tip my hat to those first responders who are working really hard and diligently. Having been involved with that in a past life, I know that what it takes, and certainly all of our communities are better for those individuals who take on those kind of tasks. So all of our wishes are to those who are affected by the fires up in northern Colorado. Back in January, Dwayne and I stood with Governor Polis at the Capitol to announce the Responsible Energy Plan, and I talked about the work our contract committee was doing at that time to provide more flexibility. For over a year, the committee worked diligently through some very analytical evaluations to develop a new form of membership that would increase self-supply options for those who want it without penalizing those who do not want it. Earlier this year, the committee received board approval of that conceptual recommendation, and since then, we've been working to iron out contractual details, and then today, with the board's affirmative vote, that work is now complete. So Tri-State members, including Jeff and I, and our membership will now have a 90-day open season beginning this month to express interest in self-supplying a share of the 300 megawatts, or roughly 10% of Tri-State's peak load that Dwayne referenced earlier. And for members, there's also the potential to supply up to 50% of our loads. Importantly, it does do so without passing unfair costs to either membership classes, whether full or partial. Together, the membership debated, discussed, decided by a vast majority what would work best for all of us. And to reiterate what Jeff said, that is the cooperative way, and it's a model that we're very proud to be part of. Cooperatives have consistently, over their more than 8 decades, have demonstrated their commitment to communities and to the state, and that will be the case with the Responsible Energy Plan. So rural Coloradoans will have safer, increasing reliable, cleaner, and more affordable electricity. So thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and look forward to any questions that may follow.
And thank you, Jack. For those of you on the line, if you'd like to ask a question of our panel, you can raise your hand, or you can ask the question in the question field on the GoToWebinar tool. And our first question comes from Judy Kohler with the Denver Post. Judy, we'll just take a moment to unmute you. And Judy, you may be self-muted, so if you could, okay. There you go. Judy, yeah. You're live.
Yeah, thanks for talking to us today. I just wanted to see if you could explain a little bit more in detail the members' ability to, produce their own energy. I'm not sure. Yep. Yeah.
So happy to do that, and I'll ask the other members on the call if they want to jump in and add any details. But what Tri-State has done is looked at its total energy portfolio, about 3,000 megawatts of resources, and said we can make 10% of that, which is 300 megawatts of resource, available for member self-supply under what we call an open season. So during the next 90 days, members that are interested in doing additional self-supply above the 5% that they can do previously will nominate that they'd like to have, let's say, 10 megawatts or 50 megawatts of that. And as we bring all that together, if it happens that there's more interest than the 300, we'll allocate that to the members in a proper proportion. And if it's not fully subscribed, we'll just allocate what people have asked for. But any individual member will have the ability to ask for up to 50% of their needs to be met by local renewable projects or by energy purchases from the market. So then once they have selected that, there is an opportunity for a make-whole payment that is intended to keep the other non-participating members whole, and they're welcome then to go out and develop either local renewables or buy energy from other marketing partners. Does that help, Judy?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. So if members nominate the 10%, individual members still have that ability to go up to 50% if they go out
Yes.
on the market, make whole payments?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll ask our other panelists if they have other comments to add to Judy's question.
Nope.
Our next question comes from Liam Adams from the Brighton Standard Blade, and he entered his question on the text. Are these decisions in response to La Plata Electric Association and United Power's efforts to determine an exit charge from their contracts with Tri-State? Does Tri-State think or hope that these changes will cause United Power or La Plata Electric Association to reconsider a potential exit from Tri-State?
So I appreciate that question very much. If we go back to April of 2019, after many months of work, primarily led by United Power, the board agreed to a bylaw change that would allow alternate classes of membership, including those members who would not be what we call full requirements members. So really that was an initiative that started from United Power and was promoted by them to the other members of Tri-State. The other members agreed that that was a path they wanted to take, and in April of 2019 affirmed through a change in our bylaws that we could establish alternate classes of membership who would be able to then buy less than their full requirements from Tri-State. So then since April of 2019, at the direction of the board, we created the contract committee, which Jax Johnson was vice chairman of, and they spent many months in detailed analytical analysis to determine how we could allow greater flexibility for those that wanted it without causing increased rates for those that didn't want it. And after many months of work, I think they came up with a very sound process for doing that. That rate has now been filed at FERC and approved by our board of directors, so that any member that wishes to nominate into the open season will have that opportunity. You ask if I thought or hoped this would be something that United or La Plata would choose to do. I would say I would hope that this does meet their needs and that this would be a path forward for them in the alternative of a full exit. However, if they choose to do a full exit, we have also filed a tariff at FERC that provides for that.
Great, thank you, Dwayne. If you do have a question, please raise your hand using the icon on the GoToWebinar tool or enter a question in on the question field. And we do have another question from Judy Kohler with the Denver Post. Judy, you're live.
Okay, thank you. I think I'm unmuted. I have kind of a two-pronged question. I guess first, when will Tri-State, what is the timing on Tri-State's filing of its electric resource plan? And what is your comment to, I guess, comments by some environmental organizations that the responsible energy plan is not enough to make that reduction of, I think it's 50% by 2030?
Okay, I greatly appreciate that question. So as we speak, we're in the middle of preparing our filings for the Colorado Public Utilities Commission on the Energy Resource Plan. And I have some staff in the room that might be able to give me advice, but I think those plans are due just about the end of the year or prior to the end of the year. So later this year, we'll be making that filing. And if you remember from the Responsible Energy Plan, when we made our announcement on that, we said we would be able to reduce Colorado carbon dioxide emissions relative to a 2005 baseline by 90% for those facilities that operate within the state of Colorado. And if you include imported energy and the energy delivered to members, that we would be able to reach a 70% carbon dioxide reduction relative to 2005 levels. So far, the state has told us that that would support their overall carbon dioxide reduction roadmap, but I can tell you that we're not finished and we're looking for ways to achieve additional carbon dioxide reductions. We'll see what's possible as we make those filings with the Energy Resource Plan. So stay tuned as we move forward with that. So I think that's what I wanted to say about that.
Okay.
If I had another idea, but I lost it, Judy, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, 50%. When you mentioned I was just going to say additionally, there's many different ways to measure these numbers. 90% carbon dioxide emissions within the state, 70% as delivered. If you look at the renewable energy percentages that we'll be delivering to members, we'll be at 50% of the energy they consume by the year 2024 will be coming from renewable resources, and that will just continue to increase to beyond 70% by the year 2030, and then more as we go past that point, as we seek a goal of 100% renewable by 2040.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you have questions, you can raise your hand using the hand icon on the GoToWebinar tool or enter a question in on the question field. And I'll just leave one more moment for any other questions. And we appreciate all of you joining us today. We are sending you a detailed press release that includes the information about our board's actions today, including the 8% rate reduction by the end of 2023 and the initiation of our partial requirements process with our member systems. We greatly appreciate all of you joining us today. If you have questions, you can reach out to Mark Stutz at 303-501-3526 or me, Lee Bowie, at 720-670-6696. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Dwayne. Thanks, Lee. Thanks, Jack and Jeff.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Governor.
Thanks, Governor.